Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the floor. I want to also thank the Minister of Finance and his very powerful team who are here, and to also assure the Minister that even my own voice is gone, but I hope by the time I finish speaking, I'll recover my voice like you did yours. Mr. President, there's just something I want to raise. The law, of course, as it is, it seems pleasant to me. But there's one thing I wanted to raise even earlier, when I wasn't called up, but I wanted to talk more of the structure, which I saw clearly presented by the Minister of Finance, that in the SND 30, it appears in the agreement between the IMF and the government of Cameroon, the structure for the development goal between 2020 to 2030 seems to be actually saying that they are reducing Cameroon's dependence on oil, on fossil fuels, which is the general way the world is going, that's true. But there is a fundamental, when I see we are getting budget deficits and we are in dire need of resources, and we have a situation where we have oil resources on our soil, in a situation where this resource will become almost useless after 2050, because no more usage of fossil fuels, cars will no longer be driving with petrol, and this resource we have essentially becomes useless. Can it be strategically right that when you have a resource now, and you don't use it, and you know that that resource will become useless, how can that make real much sense for us strategically? Now, I want to also just make this point, that Cameroon has never been totally reliant on our petrol resource, on our hydrocarbons in that sense. We know that even when we had the hydrocarbons here, we never sacrificed our agriculture. We looked at other areas for our resources, so we've not been spoiled. And I don't think in this entire world, the IMF, the World Bank, and all the multilateral institutions would accuse Cameroon for that. It is a blessing that we did have the oil revenue, but to intentionally be talking about reducing systematically the usage of our oil revenues and turning totally almost to fiscal revenues, I start to ask myself, is it that the efficiency of our tax collection machinery is coming to haunt us? Is it that because our customs services have been so efficient that they even act as consultants in other parts of the world? In fact, the tax revenue, we noticed that our last director of taxes was taken over to the IMF or the World Bank, I can't recall. So our resources have been, our human resources have been appreciated. But I begin to ask myself that it seems each time we have a budget deficit, each time we're running out of money, we go straight to the revenue collection from the tax department, the customs services. My thinking, my observation is that these two departments are being stretched to the limit. People are being sent out, tax inspectors are going out to do collections in an environment where they're trying to get water out of stone. And now, when they are sent now to go and collect more, it actually shifts them to a situation where I'm not accusing them, Mr. Minister, Mr. Finance Minister. I'm not accusing them of sharp practices, so I wouldn't like you to come down here and accuse me of saying what I didn't say. I'm not saying that, but when the tax collectors are so much under pressure, and the customs department has almost so much, they start to use alternative means to raise this funding, and the economy is feeling it, the private sector is feeling it. And I also, one of the other things we are talking about import substitution, of course, is what we should do. But at the same time, we should also wake up to the reality that we cannot be expecting the customs department to raise the kind of money from customs duties when at the same time we are pushing for reduction of importation. There's a contradiction of the expectation. And I can see this playing around. In other words, sometimes this is the finance minister, it's like describing an aircraft, the pilot trying to use just his engines to push the aircraft forward. It's nice, you can use all the jet engine power, but without using the flaps and using all the elements, the radar, the flaps to lift up this plane, no matter how much power you push, sorry, the plane will not take off. And I think really just using physical means, as we are seeing, focusing on fine-tuning our revenue collection, like the IMF is saying every day, the World Bank pushing, gets your tax people to collect some more. I just believe that it's hurting this economy. It's making our economy contract rather than expand. And with such contraction, it seems to me natural that year by year, 2022, 2021, 2022, 2023, it's going down, it's contracting, and we are coming again for more revisions. At this rate, 2024, we'll come again for another revision. 2025 again, and going towards the last 5, going to 2030. I suspect that if we don't change that whole structure and look for aggressively look for alternative resources, we might find ourselves in difficulty. And I'm glad that the mining sector is being pushed to create sort of those reserves. But I fear that the oil and gas sector leaves a lot to be desired. In the last 7 years, not a single investment has really taken place, private sector investment in exploration. And we know if you don't seek, you will not find. If you don't search, you will not find it. I mean, it's what you say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. How is it possible that our oil and gas sector, for 7 years, no private sector investment, nothing's there, and then we're encouraging the thinking that, oh no, let's just forget about the oil revenues, let's focus on getting tax revenues. I think, Mr. Minister, there's a problem in that, and I want to use this opportunity to ask that perhaps structurally we should really look at this whole thing, and I think the tax services are being overburdened, and I think your custom collection, revenue collection systems are being overburdened. Something needs to be done to expand on our revenue resources through our God-given gifts. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.